Well, hello everyone, and welcome to On the Road with JJ. I am your host, John the Body Johnson, on the road again, traveling through. I'm gonna share a little thoughts on my mind here. Gonna try to cover a few things. It's been a few weeks since I've been here, but of course, real life happens. Sometimes you got family things that gotta be taken care of, and don't really get to do as much as you would like to do. But I am here this week, so that's hopefully good news for everybody. Hopefully you guys will get some enjoyment out of what I've got to offer here. Just to cover a few things, I know I've been promising this. I know that it's been advertised, and unfortunately, just haven't really gotten around to filming it. But it's my response to the Ultimate. I am still working on that. I had my brackets, but after watching it, I'll go ahead and tell you, I didn't reconsider my winner, but I did kind of reconsider my brackets, and I'm hoping that maybe I'll get a chance to share those here with you in a couple of weeks here on the ECS network. Get a chance to share with you who I think is the ultimate NWA/WCW Crockett era 81 to 2001 World Heavyweight Champion. I thought those guys did a really great job. It's been a few weeks since the last one went up and they announced who they picked, but it's coming, trust me. I've got to get around to being able to film it, and I guess I could make it part of On the Road, but we're not going to do that. We're going to make it an episode all on its own. It'll be a companion there, or who the hell knows what happens. Maybe I'll just spill the fucking beans here, who knows. But I had something on my mind I wanted to talk about, while on the road. There's been a lot of talk here recently about social media in wrestling, and some of the do's and don'ts, and some of the things that guys are doing now out here on social media that could, I don't want to say kill the business, because I think that's a term that's just been thrown around way too much, almost like greatness. Somebody being great is thrown around way too much. I think killing the business has been thrown around way too much, because I honestly don't think there is a way to kill the business. And I seen that firsthand this past weekend, as I was a part of Hostile Environment 2017 from Anarchy Wrestling in Cornelia, Georgia at the Landmark Arena. Well, you can see me on the second and fourth Saturdays of every month. And you can also see me on Powerbomb.tv, part of Anarchy Wrestling. Hostile Environment is an Anarchy original. It is the big show for Anarchy. It was Anarchy's first big show in 2005. I have been a part of every single Hostile Environment but one, I believe. And but this past Saturday night was just a night of magic, a night of just some of the most amazing wrestling action I've seen. There was something for everybody. I don't think there's any one wrestling fan that could complain about what they saw Saturday night. And of course, you can catch all that coming up on Powerbomb.tv, as well as by purchasing the Hostile Environment DVD from Anarchy Wrestling. I'll have a link up going into that. You can also find them over on Facebook, Anarchy Wrestling. They're also on Twitter at Anarchy Landmark. So just keep up with them, and they're doing really good things. But getting back to my thought here, there's a lot going on with social media and the wrestling, which I'm going to kind of tie into the main thing I wanted to talk about, and we'll get to all this here. We talk about great, and we talk about this, and we talk about that. But one of the things is, what was the greatest era of professional wrestling? Once again, that's something that's very, it's subjective. A lot of times it's going to be the era that you grew up and loved wrestling with the most. I know for some people who are a little bit older than myself, I'm 40, there's some guys that, are in that 45 to 50 year range that the 70s was the greatest era for them, or even the early 80s, because that's the wrestling they grew up watching. For me, I really started paying attention to wrestling, I guess, around 80, 81. I was about 4. Maybe I was maybe even a little bit younger, but from what I can actually remember. And I loved it back then, of course, through the big 80s boom and the Mania and the rock and wrestling era. Was, big into that, although, my roots always seemed to stick with Crockett and WCW and like Memphis, because that's where like the storytelling was. That's where like the hard hitters, the brutes, the men, that's where they went, and then WWF, which I loved also because it was wrestling, but it was different. It was the cartoonish characters, and it was these larger than life characters that came out on the screen as like superheroes and supervillains, and that was a lot of fun, too. So was that one of the greatest eras? We come up late 80s, early 90s, there was a little fall off from, all wrestling all around. AWA was falling off the map, World Class was gone. Things were still good in Memphis, but not as great as they once were. And then, you take a look at the big two, WWF and WCW, and they were kind of hitting a stalling period up until about the mid-90s. And then, you got the younger generation that grew up with that mid-90s wrestling, from 95, which was still kind of that year, but then you get into 96, and you got the NWO, and you got Austin 316, get to 97, you've got D-Generation X, and then, it just goes on and on from there. A lot of guys that watch that's their greatest era of wrestling. And from a financial standpoint, it's hard to argue with any of that because there was money being made hand over fist. But I think what a lot of people are not realizing, or at least people that, are in certain circles, I think right now we're in the greatest era of professional wrestling that's ever been. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with what's going on in the WWE, because really, realistically, they are the main game in town. I don't like to say they're the only game in town, because that really discounts what is being done in Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor. I'm not a huge Impact Wrestling fan. I'm not going to shit on their product. It's not the right thing to do. Because you got guys and girls there that are busting their ass, to put out a good product, and you've got, ownership and management that hasn't been doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're doing the best with what they've got. And that speaks volumes. That says a lot. So I don't want to shit on them and they're not even a pimple on the ass. That's not even, that's not right. Ring of Honor is doing great things. Ring of Honor, of course, is almost like a breeding ground for talent. It is what it is. But you take all that coupled with what WWE was doing with the network. You take a look at the independent scene that I think is actually starting to see a little bit of resurgence. If we could weed out the shit promoters and the shit talent that's out there. And I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but there's some people who they just don't belong in the business. And I'm not saying that I can do any better. Hell, I'm, for all intent and purposes, I'm an announcer. I was a manager. I was a referee. I tried my hand at wrestling. I sucked. But I knew I sucked, and I didn't try to disguise it. But I knew other avenues of the business. But, you look now, it's a great era of wrestling to be in. Think about this for a second. Right now, I could hit stop on this record, and I could go to the WWE Network, and I can watch wrestling anywhere from just about any era. I can watch any pay-per-view that either WWE, WCW, or ECW has put on since 1983. I can go back, I can watch old World Championship Wrestling, I can watch old ECW TV, I can watch old episodes of Raw, I can watch old episodes of Nitro. There's literally a plethora of stuff I can watch just on the network. If I want to do a little bit more digging and I got something specific I want to see, I can check YouTube. You can watch wrestling on YouTube. There's tons of stuff there, tons of content. There's tons of content on other social media outlets that, have video sharing. The National Wrestling Alliance has a video sharing, or video streaming service that you can watch. I mean, so wrestling is available to us more than it's ever been. Now, growing up in Atlanta, that's really weird for me to say, because in the 80s and early 90s, I used to watch wrestling from 6:05 in the evening till 4 o'clock on Sunday morning. We had a great show here called Superstars of Wrestling that came on at 8 o'clock that would immediately follow the TBS wrestling, WCW over on TBS. So it was great, but it was like one day. You got all that in one day. Now, you can get it all in one day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I think that's a great time to be in wrestling. But we mentioned social media too. When I broke into the business in 93, you had to physically network with people. You had to talk to guys. Your trainer would help get you bookings. You talk to other guys. They would introduce you to promoters. Sometimes promoters would go and work other shows if the promoter was one of the boys, or you just had to kind of network and call around and get information from people. And you had to put together a portfolio of your matches. You know, you had to go through, pick out your best spots, and, you know, video to video, and you had to, you know, type out a resume or, you know, type out a letter or something to send into these promoters. And, you know, that's a great way to get a job. I mean, there's still some places that that's actually still very much a practice. But now your accessibility to promoters and to being able to put your matches out there has gotten a lot better. You have the internet. You can go and place your matches on YouTube. You've got Facebook, you've got Twitter. You can actually look for promoters, and you can look for certain things, and you can actually communicate that way. And it's opened up a whole new world of possibilities. And then, as that truck tries to run me over, what an asshole. But anyway, back to my thought. You can get in. He's got me fucking frazzled. How about that? But you can get, guys are now networking with the other boys, and they're putting messages out on Twitter and Facebook. Hey guys, open seat in the car, heading to Chattanooga. Who wants to ride? Who wants to network? There is no excuse. If you're in this business and you want to go to the next level, there is no excuse for you not to be able to do that. You just have to work a little bit harder. You have to do the things that are being presented to you. And I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you know, back then it was, you know, you called guys and everything, but it's like, oh, hey, you know, you were the fourth person that I was going to call. Fuck. You know, now it's like, hey, you got to jump on that shit. But the other flip side to social media that's hurting people is there's some people who know how to use it to their advantage. They'll promote themselves, they'll promote their product, they'll do a great job of doing that. But there's one problem. On the flip side, you got guys that don't know how to use the social media properly. Now, they may be really, really good at promoting themselves, but they're the shits at keeping their mouth shut. Now, I'm not saying that you have to keep your mouth quiet. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. I'm very much First Amendment. I believe in the First Amendment. I support the First Amendment. But sometimes you have to pick and choose your battles. Sometimes guys, they just don't know when to let something go. Or they don't know how to not post something that's going to make a show look bad. Because if you're posting on Facebook, chances are you're going to have your fans that are following you on Facebook or following you on Twitter. You're going to have guys that are going to post shit that's going to end up getting shared. And it's going to end up getting back to promoters. And it's going to end up getting back to people. And it's going to end up hurting you more than you think it's helping you. Because while you think what you're doing is funny, or why you think what you're doing is, oh, hey, this is kind of cute, or this is kind of cool, realistically, there's other people who don't see it that way. And you're going to end up hurting yourself. So you have to be careful with using the social media. And that's why this is one of the greatest eras in professional wrestling history, because of those very things. A lot of times, it took a little while to weed out the shit in the locker room. Nowadays, you can do it before they even get to your fucking locker room. You can just go to their social media page and see what they've got posted, see what they're doing, follow what they're doing. And while you can't really judge a book by the cover, you can hurt yourself, because believe it or not, people go on social media as a means of employment, a means of associating themselves with you. In fact, I just read a story here a few weeks ago about Harvard rescinded 10 scholarships to some top students because of things they shared on social media. So guys, use social media wisely. I know that I post some crazy ass shit, or I used to. I try not to do it as much anymore. I do speak my mind. I have this YouTube channel. My opinions are mine and mine alone. Hopefully it wouldn't, stop me from getting a booking here and there. Although, who the fuck books an announcer? I've got a home of Anarchy Wrestling, and I'm proud of that. But no, it's but just be careful how you're using social media. Be mindful of what you post. Just remember, somebody is watching, and somebody can not share your same viewpoint. And some people will take what your viewpoint is and say, you know what, we don't want nothing to do with that. But so just be careful what you're posting out there, guys. Use social media, use the internet to your advantage. One of the things that I think people miss is that there are so many endless opportunities out here for us to get better and to help each other out. Like I said, that's why I'm saying this is one of the greatest eras of professional wrestling. Be a part of that greatness. Be a part of the thing that makes it good, that makes it great. Don't be the thing that makes people go, man, fuck wrestling. Be the person who says, hey, you know what? That guy's got his shit together. Let's fucking book him. So where am I going to be? Well, second and fourth Saturdays of every month, you can catch me in Cornelia, Georgia at the Landmark Arena for Anarchy Wrestling. We are doing big things there. We just had Hostile Environment, like I said at the top of the show. It was a huge success. Basically a sellout to the crowd. There has been some really great improvements. If anybody remembers the old NWA Arena or the Anarchy Arena, whatever you're used to calling it, the Church of Southern Wrestling, there has been some really amazing improvements to the building. The production quality has gone through the roof for wrestling. It used to be basically a 2-camera shoot on some older equipment, and there was editing that was being done that was just your simple basic line edits. You took camera A and camera B, load them both into a computer, and it would take a few days to mix. They're doing live mixing now. They've got more than 2 cameras. I believe it's a 5-camera shoot. The commentating rig has is greatly improved, and the in-ring product, which has always been amazing, if you can believe this, has gotten even more amazing with the guys there. So it's a big time. You can look them up, like I said, on Facebook. You can also find them on Twitter. Second and fourth Saturdays of every month, the Landmark Arena in Cornelia, Georgia for Anarchy Wrestling. That's about the only place you'll find me. I do know that coming up on July 29th here on the ECS network, they are planning a huge live event. It's going to be an all-day, 24-hour live stream. I am going to do my very best to be a part of that as we go through and we discuss. I believe the way this is set up, this is a benefit, and you donate money, and you're going to get to pick what we talk about, which can be really, really exciting. So if you choose me, chances are you're going to have me watching something wrestling-wise, and then we are going to go from there. But we'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how everything goes. Like I said, I really want to be a part of that. I'm advertised, so I'm going to try to be there. But like I said, real life happens. You can find me on all platforms of social media. Facebook, I'm at JJ the Body. On Twitter, at JJ the Body. On Instagram, at JJ the Body. And Snapchat, at JJ the Body. You can Also visit our fan page on Facebook. It is OTR with JJ, I believe is our Facebook page. You can also, and check this out, this is something that I'm very, very excited about. Aside from the wonderful merchandise from all the shows here on the ECS network, with the on the road merchandise, there is now official John the Body Johnson merchandise. The John the Body t-shirt coming out very, very soon. I'll have some pre-order details on that one. I'll hopefully have a picture of the shirt coming up here maybe now. And yeah, you can get yours there. I'll have those available. It's going to be a black shirt with white lettering. Very excited about that. So fans, I hope you enjoyed this week of On the Road, as I am almost to my destination. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon.